everybody, and welcome to Reimagine Work and Project Management with a modern collaboration toolset. Some of you, your invite may have said Unify Work and Project Management. If that's the case, you are still in the right place. I'm your host, Brian Quick, of Business Development for Innovative E. I'm joined today by Mike Taylor, President and CEO of Innovative E, Sean Kim, Modern Workplace Specialist for Project at Microsoft, and Kurt Midhofer, the Assistant Vice President, Project Management and Value Creation at the Southern New Hampshire University. Without further ado, let's get welcome to the call. Microsoft, the project specialist, talk about what's new with Microsoft Project. We'll also talk about using Teams for project management, which is the main theme of our call today. You'll hear firsthand from the Southern New Hampshire University, and you'll experience project management teams. We'll also explore what Innovative E's tool Teams for PM brings to the table, answer your questions, and make sure you stick around for a sugar wish at the end of the call. Just a few housekeeping items. We ask that the audience please remain muted. You're encouraged to ask questions or provide feedback using the chat feature. You can see a little screenshot of that below. The chat feature is located on the top menu. There will be an open QA session at the end of the webcast that will be conducted via chat, and we'll also be addressing some of your chat questions during the call and during the QA session. The recording presentation will be made available to all of you in a follow-up email so that you can review it afterward. So I'm going to turn it over to Sean, and he's going to cover a few items related to what's new with modern work management at Microsoft. Sean?
Thanks, Brian. Hi, everyone. I'm here to spend a few minutes to talk about the Microsoft vision for project and work management. So we do have the Microsoft vision as well, right? And our mission is to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. That is the big Microsoft mission. But within that, we have different submissions and different visions within each product, within each solution, within each workload. And this is what we have for project and work management. Teams work the way they want, executives get the results they need. What that really means, and we'll go into this as we go into the presentation today and the demo today, and you'll see what we exactly mean by this. But the idea is that for overall success, right, for overall successful outcomes for our customers, you have multiple things that are required. Of course, teams need to be successful in executing the work that team needs to execute and achieving the goals that the team has. At the same time, from an organizational and from an enterprise perspective, you have your organizational needs, what the executives need, what the organization needs from a strategic perspective, as well as from a security and compliance perspective, and all of those things that are required in today's modern world. So we are proposing what we have. That's sort of the I guess the marching orders that we have for the team. That is what they call the North Star for us, and that's what you'll see today in the demo and presentations. If you go next slide, Brian. And this is some of the things that we're seeing today in terms of the modern work challenges and the solutions. And this isn't anything new, probably. You've probably seen this already, and you've probably experienced this now in your current working environments. First one being that work is happening everywhere all the time. You end up losing track. Work is hard to track because especially in this day of hybrid work, folks are in the office, folks are at home, folks are working from their car. Depending on if they have construction going on in the home and whatnot, there's work happening everywhere, and it's harder and harder to keep track of where are we in terms of status. Is this task completed? Am I missing any meetings? Am I missing any notes that the others are aware of that I'm not aware of? So it's really hard to keep track of all of that, right? So we need a solution that can help with this, that can help you easily keep track of the work that you're supposed to be doing, but also keep track of the work that others are doing on the same project. Another one that we have is our teams choose their own tools to work the way they want. Depending on the type of project that you're working on, depending on this project specifics, depending on your role or depending on your organization, you have different needs, right? There isn't one solution that does everything, though I do hear that Excel can do a lot, right? So you can do pretty much everything with Excel. But at the same time, there are better tools for specific needs, right? If you want to manage projects, there are probably better management tools that you can leverage. If you want to just manage simple work or tasks, there are probably better tools to help you with that as well. But we also need tools that support different methodologies, right? If you're old school traditional and you like the waterfall methodology, that may be the right tool for you. But if you're more modern, you like the task board, you like the Kanban, you like the agile approach, that may be the better approach for you. But at the same time, there's hybrid methodologies as well, and there's that spectrum runs. It's literally a spectrum. You can go one way to the other, any degree in between, right? So we need tools that help you support that as well. Casual PMs and millennials want simple visual tools for work. Our expectations for the tools that we work with have changed. And a lot of it is because the apps and tools that we use at home have changed, right? Everything is more modern. Everything's very simple and easy to use. Things like Netflix and Uber and Airbnb, like once you've used that, you get like, oh, this is so easy. It's so simple. It does exactly what I want it to do. So why can't we get this at work, right? So we get a lot of that too. So traditionally, with a lot of Microsoft tools, we really cater towards the complexities or the advanced features and functions of that tool set. But that's not necessarily what everyone needs. Some people just need a simpler tool that's easier to access, that gives you a modern UI, works on your phone, works on your devices, and is very simple, and you don't need to take a week training class to do something, right? So that's sort of the expectation from the workforce, and that's also aligns with their vision. So a funny story with this is that I've recently spoke to a customer, and we were talking about I'm showing the product that we have and some of the things that it does and how it's different from the old traditional ways. And one thing he kept asking me was like, how do I save this? Like I'm working on something. How do I save it? I'm telling him it saves automatically. It just does it on its own. It's like, well, what if I don't want it to save? I'm like, well, it doesn't really work that way anymore because everything is more collaborative. You have co-authoring, which means multiple people can work on it at the same time. So if you have something like that, you can't decide that you want to save or not save when others are working on the same document, right? It doesn't really make sense. So point is that, hey, expectations are different, have changed, probably for the better, and we have solutions that support that. Our business processes cut across functions and systems. This is, this is a old requirement that hasn't changed, right? When you're working on a project, it's rare that you can be, in a silo working on a team by itself that doesn't really interface with other systems or other functions. So it's very important to have the capability to integrate those, because otherwise you're siloed and you lose track, right? That is the whole purpose. And then lastly, single compliance, security, or platform issue can disrupt business. This is about your security and compliance, right? In 2021, the average data breach costed an organization $4.24 million. So $4.25 million every time there's a data breach. Now, if you're a business in your organization, you have your own, your own mission, your own vision, your own strategic goals. One of them probably isn't, let's be secure. So focus on your business, and then Microsoft and our platform and our infrastructure take care of the business. Take care of the security and compliance for you so that you can focus on what you need to do as a business. And of course, we'll go through the solutions throughout the demo today, and the outcomes that you get were listed on that slide as well. Real quick, let's do a poll. Let's see where everyone is, right? So the poll's gonna come up, and it's gonna ask you, what tools are you using for work and project management today? So your options are project on the desktop, project server or project online, Excel, which is pretty popular, PowerPoint or other Microsoft products, a non-Microsoft cloud-based PPM solution, or another traditional PPM system. So let's see what everyone's using today. Do I get to do this too?
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead. We know what your response is going to be. So after you submit your response, you guys can see all the other responses that came in and which were most popular. What do we have, Maya?
Yeah, I think Sean was spot on. It looks like about over a third are Excel or PowerPoint, almost a third project on the desktop, another 20% project server, project online, and then other cloud basis, another 14%. So it's pretty much across the board. But yeah, Excel, PowerPoint, and other Microsoft tools are right up there on the leaderboard. Since it's Masters Week, I had to work the leaderboard in there.
Yes. Well,
Very
that's
nice.
really interesting. And it's something we're going to really talk about a lot today is these manual tools and tools that are not really optimized for project management. A lot of folks are still using those, so you're in the right place. Okay, let's move on.
Hold on a second. There you go. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about teams, because after all, today is about unifying work and project management within teams, right? So especially in the last 2 years, more and more organizations around the world really have really turned to Microsoft Teams, mainly for communications and collaboration platform, right? Um, Currently, Teams, I don't know if this is not on the slide, we have over 270 million monthly active users. That's a
Wow.
huge number, right? And that's actually an increase of over 20x in the last 2 years. So yeah, the pandemic has sort of accelerated this timeline for sure, especially with hybrid work. A lot of folks need to be working from home, remotely from not in the office, and there is definitely a need for a collaboration platform for that, right? Look at some of the other stats here as well. Over 500,000 organizations, 91% of the Fortune 100 companies use Teams. For me, this is the most important. 44 languages supported in 181 markets. When you talk about collaboration, right, accessibility is crucial in that. So if you don't have a tool that's accessible, that works in your language, that you can easily use, it doesn't really help the collaboration. So I think that's really important. And 10,000 plus active users in 150 organizations. You can see there's a little Gartner chart there as well. The analysts love Teams as well. It's really a tool that's being used by pretty much everyone. Pretty much every customer I speak to these days are on Teams to some degree. Some are using exclusively Teams. Some are using some other tools too as well. But for the most part, everyone has Teams. So let me see what this group is. There's another quick poll. You can pretty much guess what I would say.
Okay, the responses are coming in. Oh, a lot of people are all in.
Yeah, it looks like over 60% are all in. That's amazing. That's awesome.
All in. Okay. It's catching
This
on.
is
It's all in.
this is actually slightly better than what we see across the industry. According to 2021 CIO report, 53% of organizations have standardized on Teams. It looks like we got something close to 70. And then 67% say they will standardize on Teams by within the next 12 months. So yeah, you can see the momentum. You can see how which direction that we're moving towards. And this is a key issue, or not an issue, but this is a key fact in how our vision works and how our mission works. Because Teams is going to be a crucial part of project and work management, if it isn't already.
Okay, so thank you, Sean. Now we're going to switch gears and talk a little bit more about using Teams for project management. So what we're really looking to do here is leverage Teams for project management and start collaborating. Do it today. Because projects are about getting work done. We can embrace those casual project managers in your organization. Because new project tools are easy to learn and they put collaboration first. And they can help use shadow IT solutions and disparate data in your organization. But really, the key here is we can extend the project management capabilities in Teams with confidence. It's one thing to just start doing projects in Teams, but you'll all be doing it a different way, and you'll all have a different style to it, and your data won't be centralized, and it really won't follow your key business processes and the way you want to work unless you take that another step forward and use Power BI, Power Automate, and Power Apps to really make it yours.
Yeah, that's right, Brian. And like you said, the real key here, there's really three keys that we see here. And one is that it brings everything together in teams. So you have the same experience, the place where most people are going to be working all day anyway, right? It also allows the application data between different applications, such as Project for the Web, Project Online, maybe others, to flow more naturally between the apps. And so but you're still staying inside that team's experience. And the third thing is it's built on the Dataverse, so you can easily do business process automation or process automation around these work and project management things that everyone's doing, and really incorporate the special sauce that you have at a department or organizational level. And that also includes leveraging, the Dataverse and all of the things that you can do with there's like 300 connectors, so you can bring in other business application data and work with that as well. So it's a super powerful kind of paradigm, if you will.
Yeah, Mike, if I could add, I think really unlocking at SNHU here, the power behind combining the three. We have been doing it individually for a period of time, and I think it wasn't until we really saw how the three meshed together to a common data set, and really how do we leverage that up into Power BI. Until we connected the three, we didn't really unlock that power. So seeing these three combined together, it was great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it really is a great platform. For those of you that aren't really familiar with the Dataverse, we talk about that a lot. It really, I like to explain it sort of as the common data model behind the Power Platform. And the more data we can get into the Dataverse, the better the consolidation of that data is going to result in better reporting. So if we're doing things in different places in teams, like one person is using a SharePoint list or a planner plan in order to manage risk, for example, and another person's using something else, then that data is going to still be disparate. But if we're leveraging Power Platform to pull data into the Dataverse, that's when things really start consolidating and our data becomes centralized. So what does it look like? I mean, what is, of course, looking at and considering using Teams for project management, you want to take a look at, like, how is it going to function for me? And what it looks like is something like you see on your screen. This is actually a view of project for the web, and project for the web is the lighter weight new project tool. It's easy to use. People really are delighted by it. It's simple, analogies even simpler to understand, and it provides real-time co-authoring. It does have a copy project feature available, so you can templatize things. It has a threaded discussion, of course, because we're using Teams, right? So everything is a part of as possible in threaded discussion. So you can just comment or include a teammate in a comment alongside the project schedule. And it has the ability to assign resources.
Right. I'd like to bring up something else you mentioned earlier. You notice that it's in the Teams interface, so it's already got the channels and everything pre-provisioned. And you mentioned earlier that it keeps things in a consistent way, right? So it's a kind of a you're doing everything, not going in different directions. It's the same kind of templatized approach.
Right, exactly. A lot of you are looking at, how can I use Kanban boards or, work in progress boards in order to do things that way. That's the way you want to work. You don't want to work in a Gantt chart or more interactive so that you have your morning stand-up meetings on use cards. Well, Project for the Web enables you to do that. So imagine you're in Teams, you're in your Teams channel, and you're able to move cards along in their status from not started to in progress to done, or categorize them in a different way. And it provides a way that you can actually attach documents to the cards, so that, if you're producing a document as a result of a task, then you have that in line. And that's another example of kind of bridging the gap between the work that's being done and the data that represents it, like we were saying before. And if you want to use a Gantt chart, it's there. It's called a timeline. What's nice about this is Project for the Web actually has the ability to have like a critical path, and things can push. Things are dependent upon one another. So when something gets delayed, the next thing will also get delayed, and your end date for your project will push out. So you see kind of what happens when things move around in your project. If you're using something like Excel, or you're using something that's not really intended for project management, you're not going to have that predictability. So what we want to do is we want to make these tools easy, simple to use, put them inside Teams, so that the people who are trying to use other tools that are less optimal for project management really come to the realization that, hey, this tool, I can use this. I can do this. This is not rocket science. I can basically use a tool that's tuned for project management and get my work done. I'm not really sacrificing. we talk about, teams, and to a lot of people, it's threaded discussion or meetings, but there's a whole nother element to teams. We're fully embracing Innovative E. We want to make sure everybody's really aware of it, and that's the document co-authoring capabilities that are added into Teams. Now, Word and PowerPoint and Excel have, we've had co-authoring in those tools for quite a while, but it was more in the browser, and it wasn't really as rich of an experience as it is today. But what you can do is with these documents, Word documents, Excel spreadsheets, PowerPoint presentations, you can real time co-author them with other people right in Teams, and that means that they can be attached to the task that you're working on a project, and then you can work on that document together. You're going to have your file repository in Teams for your project, and all those documents can live there. And so what this really does is it again makes the work more in tune with the project and the data that represents it. But more importantly, it helps you get things done. If you're still emailing documents around as attachments or making changes to it and putting it in a file repository or even a SharePoint, you're kind of you're not embracing fully the efficiency of Teams.
Yeah, and if I could add, I think from our lens, I know I'm going to go into it more in depth here in a little bit, but this really getting that collaboration power that we're looking for. Right. We had been doing a lot of the email and kind of versioning and all that, but just really having it centrally in Teams. And then, as you had talked, Brian, the kind of the lightweight option all the way through the project online option from a lift of what kind of tool do you want to navigate and then manage your work within. So, yeah, Teams has been great.
Yeah, exactly. You can see like an example here in the screen about a thread of discussion about on a project schedule, like how's that going? Are you done yet? And just having that completely contextual within the project so that thread of discussion lives on. If somebody gets onboarded to the project, they can just always go back and look at what happened. Now, once the data is centralized, and we were talking about in that Dataverse where we want to bring all that data together, and basically using Project for the Web does that for the data that's represented there, because Project for the Web itself is a Power App, and all of its data is stored in the Dataverse by default. But what we can also do is we can point Power BI to the Dataverse, and we can start doing some centralized reporting. There is an out-of-the-box report pack available in GitHub for you to download and connect to your Project for the Web implementation. And when we light that up inside of Teams, alongside the project, for example, we can have very rich reporting on a portfolio level about all the projects that are going on, whether they're late or not. And this will help us make decisions and increase awareness around risks and issues and late tasks and assignments and milestones. And you can put it on a regular refresh schedule so that you'll always be up to date on the latest information. Well, thanks for taking a closer look at Project for the Web inside of Teams. So let's take a closer focus on somebody who we've already heard from today, but is also experienced in pulling projects into Teams. And that's our Kurt Mitthofer, who's joined us today. Hey, Kurt.
Hi, Brian. Thanks for having me.
No, thanks for being here. Kurt's the Assistant Vice President of Planning and Value Creation over at Southern New Hampshire University, and he's been working with us at Innovative E for the better part of a year. So we've been working together, and we have an actual case study that the rest of you can go on our website and take a look at innovative-e.com/client-success, and we'll provide that as part of the follow-up to the webinar as well. Well, we actually brought Microsoft in to take a closer look at this story since it was so compelling and did use a lot of the Power Platform features that we were talking about earlier. So we're using Teams, we're using Power Apps, we're using Power Automate and Project Online together, and we're pulling that Project Online data and that experience into Teams. We completed this in December, and we've been enhancing it ever since. As a matter of fact, there was a meeting this morning on the very topic, Kurt. And we're evaluating a pilot right now in order to add Project for the Web into the fold as well. So you can have Project Online and Project for the Web focused in one place. Tell us a little bit more about SNHU, Kurt.
Yeah, so SNHU, we are located up here in Manchester, New Hampshire. The campus is actually in Hooksett, New Hampshire. It's roughly a 300-acre campus. It's beautiful if you've ever been up this way. We serve roughly 140,000 learners online and 100,000 learners worldwide. So it's a very broad network globally. And it's fantastic. Our students are really enjoying both the on-campus and online experience, and they're thriving. So it's great. From an organization size, as it says, we're roughly 4,000 employees that now work across the United States, some remote, some here in the Northeast. And we have well north of 6,000 adjunct faculty teaching our students either on campus or online. So
Wow.
We are a nonprofit founded back in the early 1932. And yeah, it's been a great journey ever since SNHU went online over the last 10 to 12 years.
Yeah, it has been great. I had the actual opportunity to be up in Manchester, visit you guys on campus, and I have to say, try to go in the summer.
Avoid the winters.
Good advice. Unless you're going to go snow skiing, and then
unless you're a skier, yeah,
right.
Skier, exactly. Come on up.
I think it was about 7 degrees, and the walk from the hotel to our meeting was about 2 blocks, and it was too long.
Yeah, we call that brisk. Just a brisk walk. Yeah.
Right. So let's take a closer look at the problem that you were having, Kurt.
Yeah. So like many organizations, there was a variety of ways to approach project execution, right? Some folks, Brian, you've already mentioned it, were using Excel. Others were other platforms. Some were in the Microsoft suite, and some were on sticky notes, right? And we all love our sticky notes, but at times it's not very easy to collaborate and be transparent. The data, as we said, was dispersed, and it was in a variety of areas or just non-existent at all. And so leveraging the platform, the Dataverse, really helps synergize a lot of that disparate information into a way that we could then digest it in reports. Certainly with all of that, it took a lot of time if we wanted a collated report out for leadership, took a lot of time to coalesce that data, reformat those reports and get something out consistently. So there was a lot of staff that was needed to do that. And at the same time too, because it wasn't in a collaborative online environment, there was a lot of potential rework that was done if documents went missing or just didn't recirculate. Right. So I think at the end of the day, we also saw through the raising of awareness with the platform that we put in place, there was a lot of redundant or similar type efforts when it came to trying to achieve goals. And it wasn't until we started seeing the whole picture that we were able to actually identify, those areas of opportunity and to synergize and collaborate in a single fashion as opposed to multiple.
Wow. Yeah. And Kurt, that was something that I think was a completely unintended benefit. I mean, we didn't see it coming. I'm not sure you guys did, but it was, having this additional visibility. I've heard you say that it was really great to see that some real synergy started to come out of it across departments.
Yeah. And it just brought a whole different level of conversation, right? Which has been great.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. Thanks for that. So you met us at Innovative E. Just a little bit about us. We're a Microsoft Gold partner in 3 different areas, and we were founded in 2001. We've been really close with Microsoft on this particular topic of project and work management throughout our history, and we've got hundreds of successful customer engagements. But lately, we've been really focused on this modern work and project management solution as part of M365 and the Power Platform across diverse industry. Of course, Kurt, you're in education. But we have a lot of customers in healthcare. We work with both the federal and state and local government level. Some other focus on retail and consumer products as of late, is in addition to financial services and manufacturing. So what we do here at Innovative E is we try to help you transform work and project management into a competitive advantage with a modern cloud-based collaboration tool set that enables everyone to work toward their core objectives. So a couple of things to highlight here. I think you don't really think of project and work management as a competitive advantage all the time, but I would say that it can be, as a potential to be, especially if you're executing your projects and your work more collaboratively and more effectively than your competition, or if you're not in a competitive industry, like say, for example, you're in the government or a nonprofit space. Take that word competitive, strike it out, and put strategic there instead. Right. And so what we're trying to do there is make sure that you're able to basically translate your work and project management into something of benefit for your organization, not just overhead or a necessary thing that you have to do. Right, Mike?
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that we're working very closely with Microsoft and the Power Platform, Dataverse, all the things we talked about. You can do a lot of business process automation in the work and project management space that were not really possible before when you're working within a siloed application. And so that competitive advantage, again, that special sauce can be worked into doing it. And that's actually what we did with Kurt and SNHU as well, as using the Power Platform to extend into, it wasn't just the products, it was doing a lot of custom work around their processes.
Yep. And enabling everyone means what we really need to do is kind of recognize that traditionally project portfolio management systems, although they have been great in a lot of areas, haven't really been that great in collaboration and really getting everybody involved and bringing them into the solution. And so instead of trying to make a super awesome collaborative project portfolio management solution, we're just going to take the project and portfolio management and we're going to move it into teams because that's where the people are. And then we want to work toward your core objectives. So we want to make sure that projects are aligned with strategy, that we're doing the right projects, and that we're executing them against your goals as a company or as an organization. So some of the common challenges you heard from Kurt, and we would echo, is, for a lot of people, collaboration is happening in real time, but the work and the project management that governs it kind of stands apart from the actual work that's taking place. And when you had implemented Project Online in a limited way, Kurt, you kind of saw that happening, right? You saw the collaboration happening over here and then the project management over there. And I remember we were talking a lot about how do we embrace and get more people involved.
Yeah, when we were first kind of utilizing the MS platform, when I first started, it's new about 6 years ago, it was, we had the desktop and the online client, but we didn't have the tether between the collaboration aspects of Teams. And so while we still had the online version of the scheduling, everything else was outside of that platform, right? And it was very hard to keep track of what was where and what was actually happening and what needed to happen. So,
right, right. We're seeing a lot of folks are, looking at formal work and project management roles, and we know that, we've provided solutions for those people in the past, PPM solutions that are been out there for a while. Adoption has been challenging in some cases. We've done our best to make sure that adoption has been high for our customers, but it's often a challenge for folks. And those tool sets are getting outdated and they may be overly complex. And particularly when we're talking about some of these project managers that, you may call them citizen project managers, or I've heard a lot of terms out there. I'll just throw a couple. Casual project managers,
accidental,
accidental. Yeah,
We can keep going.
Keep going.
I think that's my favorite one. I'm just trying to get stuff done.
Right.
And they're not really, members of PMI particularly, or they might be, but they're not formal project managers, and they may not have that in their title. They might just be a manager or a team lead or something, and they're trying to get things done. But going and saying, okay, here's this great PPM system, it's just way too much tool for them, right?
Yeah, we've seen that even here at SNHU, where we actually have tiers of work, right? So like the big rocks, medium size, and small rocks, and the smaller stuff is where we're trying to get the various departments to kind of manage the work, right? And so that's where you get your accidental PMs that maybe stumble onto it and go like, hey, this is the fit for me. I want to make a career out of it, but at least we're able to provide them with easy to use tools, a space to collaborate, a space to navigate the work to be done. And it still all funnels in and reports through the same aspect. So leadership is still getting the visibility that they want. And then the individual executing isn't overcome by, anxiety or nerves or whatever it might be around a really heavy tool like MS Project.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I'm glad you brought that up and it showed how it's working with you guys. We've seen that over and over again, where really you talk about the kind of the outdated tools, the PPM tools, Brian. They're targeted at a small piece of the organization. All the rest of this work, as you just mentioned, Kurt, is being done and represents a large amount of work, but it may not be a big rock, right? It may be there's dozens of little rocks that are being worked, but it's a huge amount of work that's going on. And until now, the technology and the approach wasn't there to be able to really incorporate and have that visibility into what all is going on. And now it's possible to do.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a kind of a revolution, or as I like to say, sort of a democratization of project management. And that excites me because as a project manager, I want more people to have the right tools for their job to be able to manage projects effectively. All right, let's go to another poll question here. Let's light up this poll question. Which of these apply to your team and organization? Project management is spread among disparate legacy systems. You're wasting time on tedious, repetitive tasks. You want to work more efficiently from the cloud. You need complete visibility to help drive decisions, but your data does not support it. Your work is managed inefficiently with disconnected tools. So let's get your opinion on that. Go ahead and check all boxes that apply, and let's see some results after you submit.
Yeah, it looks like as.
Yeah, what do you think,
Yeah,
Mike?
Yeah, it looks like the need to work more efficiently from the cloud is kind of in the leaderboard right now, followed closely by wasting time on tedious, repetitive tasks, which I think speaks to the one we had before, where one of the leaders was of how you're managing things is in Excel and other kind of tedious ways to do things, right?
Sure. I mean, that definitely corresponds to that. But yeah, it seems like a lot of these are, almost even. And this stuff is pretty prevalent in the audience today. So thanks for sharing that. Definitely think that these solutions may be able to help you do that. Let's find out a little bit more about how. Okay, great. So just to review, what we're really trying to do here, guys, is centralize work and project management. Keep company efforts and information consolidated, but use your productivity platform to do it. So it's a win-win. And we're trying to modernize cloud-based collaboration and to empower everybody in your organization with project management functionality organization-wide. And we're trying to drive decisions from valuable insights. So once the data is centralized and more people are using it, the data is going to be better. And we're going to be able to optimize business decisions based on your organization with real-time insights into what's going on. Let's talk about a little bit more about how we were able to do that for you, Kurt.
Yeah, so again, we were already really engaged and embedded in the Microsoft suite of options. Some folks were using Teams as more of that team collaboration, not necessarily work collaboration, right? That engagement platform, and then Project to do the execution. And folks are also using things by workflow management, right? And workflow process mapping with Visio and things of that nature. And OneNote and just the suite that Microsoft offers. And really, when we partnered with you all, it was kind of how do you connect the pieces, right? We knew that we were using them already, which was kind of the win-win out of the box. And it wasn't until we started connecting all the dots between Microsoft to Teams to then all the collaboration tools within Teams that we really saw the value that we were going for. And so what we've already seen is that it's very easy for anyone from a PM standpoint now at any rate of experience in that realm to step into this platform and say, okay, I can understand and I can get the work moving, right? Which is really out of the gate is the goal. From a dashboard standpoint, having, again, and I always said it a couple times now, but the real value here is getting all of this information coalesced into one central area, regardless of how you're executing. And it's everything from resource management down to the actual task management itself and getting the projects moving forward. So it really has, it's aided in a level of speed when it comes to onboarding new PMs to the process. Certainly as we've rolled it out to the organization at large, the biggest thing that we're hearing is just the ease of collaboration and the ability to move documents and really make sure that we're focused on the work and not just the tracking of the work, but really getting that work moving. So that's a lot of good positive things.
So you said something there that I don't think we kind of maybe we could dig into for a second. You're focused on doing the work and not tracking the work. That's kind of a really profound statement. Yeah.
I think there's kind of that undertone around a project manager that you're just tracking the tasks and herding the cats, as they say, right? But I think the real power is when you're able to roll your sleeves up and help the efforts move forward. And we've seen a heightened ability to do that, to worry less about the status reports and to worry less about percents and things of that nature, and really kind of where are we going next and focus on the risks and the issues and put that at the forefront.
Yeah, I've actually heard people say it's you quit focusing on where are we and start focusing around what do we want to do about challenges and managing to get to where you want to go.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well said.
Very
That's
powerful
awesome.
stuff. Yeah, I mean, I've always been, when I was practicing project manager full time and managing project management offices, I was always really focused on the risk management aspect. It was kind of my favorite part of project management.
Yep.
But if you're spending so much time like kind of asking people about status, and you're spending a lot of time on manual status reports and doing things like that, you're not really able to see through the trees and figure out, do we have a risk here? Is it going to turn into an issue? Are people participating on the risk? Are they bringing them forward? So I feel like that's kind of where project managers that are good at their job can add a lot of value once they kind of shed all the weight of these manual activities.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the biggest thing that we've seen is a shift of not just being a project manager, but being an active project leader, and really moving the dial. And it also it's aided us in being able to organize programs even more effectively now, where again it's more of a program risk assessment and managing that as opposed to where are we percent wise and what was done yesterday and that kind of discussion. So it's been powerful.
Yeah,
it really has.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And like I've said, several times, I know there's a quote here, but by leveraging the solution through Microsoft, we had it already from a suite of engagement potential, but really tying it all together has allowed us to synergize the organization, tie the people to the work, to the people to the system, and it's allowed for a much more comprehensive, seamless type process. That is gaining a lot of traction. So we're excited where it is today, but even more excited about where we're going to go next. And at the end of the day, again, the value really is getting visibility and awareness to all the work that's happening, so we can reduce redundancy, collaborate, and draw alignment where needed. And at the biggest, impact here around change management, I know we haven't talked much about it, but the biggest thing in project management space is what is this work going to do to my day-to-day, to the organization at large? And now being able to identify and articulate the changes that are coming in a much more visible way for everybody, it's just aided in much more collaboration. So
that's great. Yeah. Okay, so I know that we're not able to really share like actual screenshots of your solution, but we have a couple of like wireframes here of what the portfolio dashboard looks like in your reporting. Any other comments about what the solution has brought to the table?
The only other thing I'd really add is it presents really a self-service type model, right? So now we've created these reports, we've launched them, folks have been trained on how to digest the information, and it's no longer PMs or program leads or even a PMO manager saying here's your report, right? It's more of here's the dashboard, right? And they can go out there and they can consume everything from the program level all the way down to the project detail level if they so desire. But it's allowed the university to understand where do I go, just to even understand what's in flight, right? What's coming down the pike. What has already been submitted that maybe wasn't greenlit from an effort standpoint. So it's provided a heightened sense of that self-serve, quicker transparency and understanding of what's moving today.
Right. And it's time for another poll question. We're going to light that up for you here. Okay. On this poll, we're going to ask, when considering the use of teams for project management, which of the following would be a priority for you? Would it be the ability to enable workflow for project intake, bridging complex and simple projects into a single data set, incorporating agile work management processes, centralized and collaborative risk and issue management, automating and standardizing the creation of project teams channels, and standardizing project status reporting? So which one of these things is important to you? You can select all that apply.
Yeah, Brian, it looks like the centralizing collaborative risk and issue management and standardized project status reporting are kind of leading the way right now. That's pretty even on the rest of them, though.
Yeah, I like to see that risk and issue management in there. We're going to talk about that in a second. And then the status reporting. I mean, this is just making a lot of sense. Like these questions are all leading one into the next. And, we have the first answers that things are really quite manual and the PowerPoint and the Excel. And that means that's where the status reports are being done and created.
Yep. And it looks like that's the one that's ultimately leading the leaderboard here. All right.
All right, cool. Well, thanks for sharing that. Let's keep going. Okay, so let's talk about a little bit more detail about this app that Innovative E has developed and that SNHU is launching, called Teams for PM, aptly named. It is built on Power Apps and Power Automate. So what we're doing is we're bringing project management into Teams, and we're building an app around it, an app framework around it that manages all the data and provides extendable support for your project management capabilities inside of Teams. It centralizes management of the project data regardless of complexity. So if you have project for the web, for execution on some projects, and project online for execution on others, you can still manage your project data centrally in one place. And what's nice about this for all you project online users out there today is we can take your project online tenant almost in its entirety, like we did SNHU, and move it into Teams so that it's a more collaborative space. So we can transform Teams with powerful project management capabilities, like a single dashboard for all work, regardless of complexity. The ability to, and this is cool, log risks and issues right from Teams in the chat as conversations are happening. Now, that's kind of an aspect I'll dig into a little bit later, but be in a chat and just kind of click on something that's being discussed and log it as a risk. I love that, and that's kind of just my risk management geek side coming out. When the data is centralized, now this is a little heady, but for all of you out there that are thinking, wait a minute, once my data is centralized on a common platform, that really provides the groundwork and lays the groundwork for what am I going to do with that data? Not only report, but maybe I can learn off of it, right, Mike?
Exactly. Yeah. So as again, you get the much better quantity and quality of data into the Dataverse. We're looking at laying that groundwork for AI to do things, predictive analytics, and start to make recommendations and do things that will even further automate that. It's not just chasing data that we talked about a few minutes ago. It's also predictively saying this is based on what we've learned and all of this, here's some areas you may want to go with. So it's going to make the project manager's job even easier in the future.
It's kind of cool to be on the edge of that. I'm really looking forward to getting involved in those conversations of enhancing Teams for PM to do that kind of stuff. And basically, what's integral to connecting data with other line of business systems. So when we have the data centralized and we're using the Teams for PM app, there are maybe other line of business systems that we can connect to through the out-of-the-box connectors with Power Automate. Let's say, for example, a financial system or another project management system or a ticketing system. We want to basically be able to pull in tickets from a ticketing system, create projects from those, for example. And we can do that through the Power Automate interface.
Yeah, it's a constant problem that customers come to us with all the time, all those different types of disparate information. So now we're consolidating it into a platform where it can be used, with Microsoft and their 300 plus and counting connectors that are already out there.
Right. So this is kind of what the conceptual architecture looks like. And it's a little bit of a crude model, but basically on the left, you start a new project and you fill out a form. You collect the data you want to collect. It's very configurable that way. And then you're going to initiate a workflow in Power Automate, and things are going to happen. So basically, you are going to maybe go through a series of steps where you're going through various approvals, collecting additional data. Maybe there's some branching involved or some logic involved. And that's really our ability to take the tools, the low-code, no-code tools with Power Automate and build in your specific processes for your business into that solution. And then what's going to happen is basically the tabs, the channel itself, and all of the associated tabs for collecting the data are going to be provisioned automatically. That data is all going to be stored in the Dataverse, which is that dotted line you see on the right. And then the execution tool it can be either a project for the web or a project online, depending on complexity. And we're looking actually at bringing in other execution tools like ADO into the realm of possibility, for example. We know a lot of you are doing that, and there's actually ways that we can pull that data in today and make that part of the solution. And then we're saving the risk, issue, lessons learned, change log data in lists. But those lists are also being copied into the Dataverse. So we can centralize your project portfolio. And what it really does is, you have that central screen for managing all your project data. You can edit it in line from there, a unified portfolio view. And then when you go ahead and create a new project, there's those activities that are going to happen behind the scenes with the Power Automate. Let's take a closer look at this logging a risk from a threaded discussion. As you can see, a little example there. So basically, I'm having a discussion, and I identify a risk, and I can just click and log it as one. So what it looks like is you've filled out your form, and basically what happens is you've got your cloud transformation project channel that got stood up, and all the tabs at the top get provisioned automatically, depending on the type of project it is. And so you're able to provide a level of governance around the use of teams. A lot of people are already using teams for things like projects, but project managers going out and creating a channel one way, and then another project manager is creating it a different way. And then where's your data being collected? How is that being collected? So one person is using a simple Excel spreadsheet to log issues. Another person is using a SharePoint list. That data is now separate. You can't report on that data centrally. You're back to, I'm going to glue it together manually. What this does is it provides a level of governance so that the channels get provisioned the same way every time for every project, and that the tabs at the top, which you're using to collect the risks and the issues and the lessons learned and to manage your project schedule, are provisioned in a uniform way so that you're collecting that data in a uniform way and you're able to report on it.
Yeah, I think from a data integrity standpoint, just to go back to that real quick, I think that's when we started doing the shells of teams and the shell of the project schedule for folks. Right. Again, just added another thing that they didn't have to focus on, and they could focus on the work, right? And so we've done a lot of what you just showed, Brian, of as something goes through the mechanisms and gets approved at the right gate, everything kind of spider webs off and gets created for them. We tag them as a name, and it automatically shows up either in their teams or the link in their inbox, and then just go right out and start to execute. So that's been another process kind of game changer for us.
That's right.
Awesome.
Really
Yeah,
good.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense, Kurt. I mean, that's an example of how we were able to kind of make it your own, right? In terms of the way that you guys wanted it to operate and emulate your business process already in there. Right. And, a lot of people people get this. And a lot of you on the webinar today are probably getting this as well. You're going to use Teams, or you're already using Teams for project management because it just makes sense, right? I mean, that's where the collaboration is taking place. It's almost a natural evolution of it, that you're doing work, and a lot of the work you're doing is projectized. So that's what the collaboration is about, and that's what's good about it. What can be challenging about that is everybody's doing it differently in different ways. The data is kind of making a mess. But you're well intended, but you're kind of making a mess. So what this can do is kind of pull it back together, govern that, move it all in the right direction, put all the data in one place so that we can have our cake and eat it too. Like, not to use another silly analogy, but a lot of folks were using a project online, or you're using a project online system today, and you want to use Teams for collaboration. So some of those things from Project Online just started moving into Teams. But you don't want to throw that out, like all that hard work you did over here to make that data meaningful, just because you want to collaborate. So let's do both. What Teams for PM adds to the picture is you have a general screen where you have a Teams for PM app. And that's going to take all of your project information and it's going to centralize it in one place. So you can look at your projects from a standpoint of, here are my simple projects, here are my enterprise level projects. It may take projects from Project for the Web or Project Online. And of course, we can make this full screen. And so I'm able to look at my complete project list, and also I'm able to edit things in line. If I want to change the department for this project to operations, for example, or I want to change its cost health to red, those can also be calculated depending on how you want to configure this. If I want to also take a look at the risks across the board in all projects, I can do that here. I can look at the issues across the board in all projects. I can look at the lessons learned. So it provides me the ability not only to edit things centrally, but also to see what's going on centrally if I'm, at PMO level or management, and I want to take a look at or make some changes to things all up. For example, I can change the budgets of some of these projects, the priority level, right all from here. So that's a really nice way of looking at it. And then if I want to go into individual projects, I can simply go back to an individual project like my cloud transformation project, for example, and I can see just that project and that project schedule as I was showing earlier. We also have some other capabilities here, like, for example, the risk board, where I can basically log risks for my projects, and then those all get copied back to the general screens that I showed you before. And then we have the ability to log issues, and those all, again, copy back to the general. So once I log a risk or an issue, it's going to immediately be available in the central administration. So key sponsors out of the office, we take a look at going back to the central administration here, and we're able to see that risk and issue in the central screens. Okay, let's wrap it up here in the webinar, and we have a few more details to cover. Just take a look at this slide right here. So if you would like to follow up on some next steps with us at Innovative E and Microsoft, just reach out to me. I have a couple of QR codes that you can take your phone, and you can just kind of scan them with the photo app, just take a picture of them. Sign up for a complimentary envisioning session or schedule an introductory call with us. So take out your phone and snap that right now, and let's get started. We also would like to know your questions. If you have any, please type them into the chat, and we'll be monitoring that. And we'll be sticking around a little bit after the hour, too, to address some of your questions that you have. And we'll send out the answers afterward if we didn't catch you in time. How else can we help? Well, Innovative E helps with Power Apps, Power Automate, business process automation, custom development, SharePoint assistance, work and project management, systems integration, and even innovation and ideation management. You can learn more about Project by visiting Microsoft's website at aka.ms/Microsoft Project. Try it for free or read more about it on the support page.